One of the most common questions a veteran player, a streamer as me, gets from new people is what legendaries to go after. And today we want to answer this question in another tier list. I'm not rating any cosmetics here. Yes, legendary items often are really expensive and you go for them because of the cosmetic. Yeah, I get that. But today we're gonna rate them with the convenience they bring. If you want to know how to craft legendaries and stuff, be sure to check out the video in the top right hand corner, where I explain how to use Guild Wars to Efficiency, a really good website to craft legendary items on all items for that matter. Legendaries are really expensive in terms of gold, but most of the legendaries also have some kind of time investment that you need to do. Some of them you can buy from the TP, but most of them that we can see here on the list are actually not buyable, so you have to craft them yourself. That also takes sometimes a time gate into consideration. If you have enough time to grind in the game, you should try to put those time gates together and try to do, for example, raids and world versus world to get to the end goal of having full legendary armor, for example. So I placed them in a way that the most important ones that I think are the most efficient to go for or most convenient ones to go for first, and then they will get lower and less efficient, less useful as we go along. So let's start with one of the best things that you can get, and those are the backpacks. So there are 3 backpacks currently in the game. There will be coming a 4th with one of the next updates, but all of them are really, really useful. Why is that? Legendaries, especially trinkets, can be used on any character. That's really, really good. And that's really useful, especially for backpacks, because backpacks, the ascended ones, are actually not that easy to get. Funnily enough, exotics as well. So backpacks can be really a pain to get, and having the legendary one is really, really convenient. You can use it on every character and you can get every single stat, and I would say they look also really cool. So it's a really good thing to go for. All of them have some kind of time gate attached to them, so you should be aware which game mode you want to play and pick for that legendary to go for, but I would say it's a really good goal to go for. And let's stay with the trinkets. I think the amulet one is also extremely good. I chose here the image for the one that you get from the return achievements because it's free. So I would say it's one of the best trinkets to go for, or legendaries in general, because it's just a free trinket that you can acquire by having all the living world seasons. So it's really, really good. You just have to do just as good. It's actually quite a grind, but it's not spending any gold. You just have to go to every single map or every single living world episode and replay some of the quests there. And in the end, you will get this free legendary amulet. It's really, really good. I just would recommend it to go for those 2 are really, really good, backpiece and amulet. The same goes for the accessories. Accessories are also really, really good because you can use them on every single character. They are somewhat hard to get. You need vision and aurora that they have. Some people find it really annoying to get them because you need to do a lot of achievements for them. And you have to spend some gold, so it's not as good as the amulet because you don't need any gold for this one. But it is really, really good because you can use it on every single character. There's no limit there, and you can swap to every single stat that you need. It's just perfect. And the same goes for the rings. The rings and the trinkets, I would say, are the same placement because they are just so convenient. Still, they cost you gold, but it's one of the best legendaries to go for. So now that we have concluded all the trinkets, which are, like I said, are really important for every single account, so it's extremely convenient if you have every single trinket slot, every 6 of them filled, so you can easily get every single character equipped with the perfect trinkets. Now, let's talk about armor. I think the legendary armor is really good. Sadly, you can't use it on every single character, only on the same armor class, so heavy, light, and medium, but it's still very good. I think that's why I put it in A tier. I think it's one of the cheaper legendaries to get. Of course, it's not as cheap as the amulet that you can get here for free, but it's still quite cheap to get all 6 pieces. And in my opinion, it's very useful as well, because swapping the armor is almost as important as swapping your trinket stats, and it can feel really, really good. Especially not only because of the convenience from swapping your gear stats, but you can also swap the skins of it for free. For me as a PvP and World vs. World player, it's not a big issue because I have enough transmutation charges, but for people that only play PvE or a little bit sparse of transmutation charges, this is an extremely convenient feature of legendaries. They are free to swap skins on. It's really, really good. And then, hand in hand with armor is legendary runes. So legendary runes are A tier as well. You can make 7 of those. It's really, really good to have 6 of those. The 7th on the Aqua Breeder is, I would say, really low, because it's not really important to have an Aqua Breeder or a rune equipped on it. But for the 6 on land, it's extremely good. It is not needed to have a legendary armor for that, actually. You can also have ascended armor, and just if you swap the armor, you can use the same runes as well. It's really, really good. Runes, I would say, and armor, both of them are actually really, really high in 8 tier. It's nowadays not that necessary anymore, because runes are just another stat stick, and therefore most runes are not that expensive anymore. So it is quite easy to buy multiple runes for multiple equipment templates, but the convenience of having every single possible rune unlocked already is really, really good. Especially because some of them, for example, the dungeon runes or other account-bound runes, are quite hard to come by if you don't know where to get them or if you don't want to farm them. So legendary ones can be really helpful there. Next, let's talk about underwater weapons. So I chose here Gridkin, but it's for all the underwater weapons. All the underwater weapons, in my opinion, are C tier. They're really bad because most of the time you don't play underwater content, and if you do, it's not really necessary to optimize it at all. So yeah, it's nice to have. They look quite cool, but it's not really important to have them. And even though you can use them on almost all characters, so a trident or even a spear is useful on a lot of characters, but not all of them. So I would say it's the legendary they can go for, but it's definitely one of the worst to go for. But being said that now with the Chantival's expansion, spears are also usable on land. The spear is S tier for me. The reason for that is not only the spear that came with the expansion, but also the old one. You can use it on every single character. And spears are quite power crept, so they are almost used in most PvE builds, and also in the competitive modes it's very common. So spears are extremely strong. You can use it on every single character, not on every single build, yes, I admit that, but it's really, really good. So I would say you could make an argument for putting it in A tier, but for me, having a weapon that looks cool and you can use on every single character in most meta builds nowadays is a very good option for a legendary to invest in. Let's stick with the weapons. Legendary weapons, that might be a hot take, but legendary weapons are one of the worst things to go for. The reason for that is not a lot of classes have overlaps in that sense that you use only swords on every single build. So that means going for one sword will not get you far when it comes to you want to play multiple builds, you want to play multiple classes even. So in the end, you have to go either for a lot of legendaries weapons, or you just try to use Ascended as much as you can. So in my opinion, that's one of the worst options to go for as a legendary. I agree, they might look really cool and it's really nice and flashy, but in the end, it's not the most useful or convenient thing to have. Especially when it comes to, for example, if you want to play Fractals optimally or dungeons, you have to min-max your sigils and stuff a lot, and with the equipment templates, it can be really annoying to do so. And sometimes even Ascended is better than in that case, to swap around really frequently. But now let's put it in B tier. Of course it's higher than the underwater weapons because you can use legendaries on land way more often, way more frequently in multiple builds, and therefore it's better. And also, of course, you get the same luxury with the armor. You can swap your skins around if you want them for free, so it's really, really good. But it's still, you put 2k gold in the legendary weapon, so you could have gone for a lot of other higher rated legendaries instead. So that's just my take. Let's stick with the weapons then. So we have the sigils that go into the weapons. It's the same with the runes. You could make actually 8 sigils. 2 for the first weapon on land, 2 for the next weapon set on land, and then 4 for the underwater weapon sets. Of course, the 4 on land are really good, but the 4 on underwater are just not that useful because you don't play underwater content most of the time. So I would say I'm just rating the 4 on land. The 4 underwater would be D tier. So going for those sigils, in my opinion, is actually quite expensive, and it's somewhat convenient, yes, but most sigils nowadays are actually not that expensive. Yes, there are some that are quite useful that might be a little bit expensive, but in the end, you don't swap sigils that much. So I would say sigils are way worse than runes. Runes are just very useful because you get all the runes unlocked that you need. Sigils you get as well, but sigils you don't really need most of them. You just use maybe 5 different ones or 10, so it's just not that useful in my opinion. So I would say it's either low B tier or high C tier. Yeah. So I would put it for now in low B tier, just because I think it's definitely not as worth it as going for the weapon itself or legendaries here. And lastly, we have the legendary relic. The legendary relic is really interesting because with the latest expansions, you needed to unlock the relics that were coming with the latest expansion before you can get them in the relic. Let's say that's not a big deal for you, so you can unlock them easily. Then you have access to all the relics in the legendary relic. Also, it has to be said that the legendary relic you could have gotten for free if you made one single rune before the relic was introduced. But nowadays it's not possible anymore, so I rate it as a normal legendary that you have to go for and it costs you gold. I would say the usefulness of the legendary relic is similar to sigils, because there are not that many relics that you use, and most of them are actually quite cheap to get, either on the TP or just buying them from the specific vendor. So I would say, especially if you play World vs. World, it's quite easy to get the exotic relic that you need, because you can buy it from the vendor there. And in my opinion, it's therefore not really high tier to have legendary relic. It can be really nice for people like me that like to build craft, that like to change stuff all the time and have various build template, equipment templates at the same time going and stuff. Yes, there it can be really useful, but I would say it's definitely not A tier for me, so I would put it in B tier as well. Just because it's not that necessary to have one. Yes, I get it, the convenience is really nice, but that's not that important when it comes to just the normal type of gameplay. So that's my take on the matter. Let me know in the comments if you have a totally different opinion on that. You can see I put nothing in D tier because I think every single legendary has a really high value. Even though it's not as worth it to go for underwater weapons, it's still a very big convenience that you get. So I think there's no legendary item in the game that gets in the armory that is not useful. So D tier is completely empty for me. And I hope you enjoyed this tier list or guide about what things to go for first. If you want to know more about which items or which masteries and stuff as a new player to go for, be sure to check out my upcoming video about it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.